The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Those here in the chat room and those listening from around the world. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tonight, hopefully, we will have some guests. I'm still trying to get them called over on Skype, but we have with us tonight Barbara Duncan.
Hello, everybody. We actually might get some rain tonight.
All right.
Oh.
We need some, too. Well, I don't know if we need a whole lot, but we've had some, so. But anyway, we got with us Tabby Cat Gash.
How you doing, everybody?
And we got Jeffrey Gould.
Hello, hello.
And have they said anything yet? Have you sent them a message?
Yeah, I've given it a try.
Okay.
So we shall see.
All right. Let me see then if
In the meantime, we got a full moon tomorrow night, folks, which is our harvest moon.
Yep. Coming up
Almost.
maybe on the
Exactly. I'm looking forward to fall.
Yeah, same here. I just got through battling a whole bunch of yellow jackets. There's a huge nest that's underground in my yard, and I ended up having to go through 6 cans of wasp killer, an entire bottle of Pine Sol, a huge bottle of liquid hand cleaner, a half bottle of Clorox, and a smattering of Comet, and I poured all of that down the hole along with about 50 gallons of water. And when I went out there at about 7:20, they are still hovering around that darn place.
Well, so they can't get into it now.
Well, no, but I figure, 50 gallons of water that I poured down that hole. So the nest must be really down in there. And this is the one thing that I really don't like about summer is yellow jackets. They are really nasty and they're aggressive. And when they start getting around people's picnics and things like that, they get high on fruit and alcohol and everything, and they get really nasty. And a few years back, I got stung about 20 times, all over my face.
Wouldn't molten metal be a better thing to pour down there?
Oh man, I wish I had something like that. If anybody's got a kiln out there, definitely let me know. Unfortunately, I can't throw gasoline down there and light it on fire because it's right next to my my neighbor's fence, and his cable line's in under there, so I can't do it. But yeah, I can't wait until we have a good frost and I can open up the windows and, absolutely and totally enjoy everything. The weather. It's getting to the point now where the summer is just starting to drag on. I mean, this year has dragged on, but, as far as not being able to get out and do things, but the weather has just been so weird. And, out there where you and, Barbara and Jeff are, you guys have had all the fires, and here in my area we've had the rain, and a little further south hurricanes. You have to wonder, Mother Nature either she's going through menopause or she's on a continuous menstrual cycle, because she has really been nasty this year.
All right. I believe we have Michael and Marty with us.
Woohoo! Cool.
Are you guys on?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Hey.
There you go.
Hello.
Took a little bit, but we got it.
Yeah. So, Michael's here too.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, you're just over in Pasadena, right?
No, we're in Lomita.
Oh, okay. Somehow I thought it was Pasadena. I don't know why. So I'm actually over in Hollywood myself.
Oh, we've done groups in Pasadena before, so maybe that's why.
Ah.
Fantastic. Well, Marty and Michael Parry, between the two of you, I'm so very glad that I was able to connect with you, because some of the things that I've seen you do on various different shows and the things that I've read about, between the two of you, your talents are absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Tabby.
I mean, I have to supplement what Michael does, because he's okay, but what I
Jeff.
I'm really the star, but I let him do most of the talking. So
Jeff,
Yes.
do you have the intro for them?
Oh, I know. It kind of skipped there for a sec.
No.
So anyway, our guests tonight are the dynamic husband and wife team, Michael and Marty Parry. With extremely detailed information, Michael can convey messages directly from friends and relatives that have passed on to the other side, while Marty draws detailed, recognizable portraits of people in spirit to prove further the existence of life after physical death. And between the two of them, one can experience the most dramatic and definitive example of communication with the other side. So welcome, Michael and Marty Parry. You've actually been a guest a long time ago.
where are we?
Yes.
Okay.
Jess probably got the date even.
Do, but I'd have to look it up again.
Oh.
I know it was like it was a while ago. It was not recent.
And we had
Like-
connecting that time too, huh?
It's not like you're
Yes,
Michael
we did.
Thomas Wortman or anything. So, yeah.
Well, the two of you have been so involved in some absolutely incredible cases, and recently I read the book that you co-wrote along with Laura Hirsch, and there's some incredible people that you, Michael, have been able to get in contact with, and one of them was a famous physicist. Are you able to talk about who this person was?
You mean Albert?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting how I came to actually meet Albert. There was a young guy came to the house once.
Years ago.
Yeah. Never knew why he came to see us, as most of our clients, we don't know why they're coming to see us. So I see this old guy with white hair, puffing away in a pipe, and he told me. And I asked him his name, and he said he's Albert. And so I said to the guy, this is who's here, Albert. And he said, oh, I know who that is. And I said, oh, good. So I said to Albert, what relative are you? And he said, I'm not. I said, are you a friend of his? And he said, no. So that kind of puzzled me. And I said, well, what? I don't understand why he's here to see you. I don't understand this. And he said, well, he's kind of someone famous. I said, who are you? He said, I'm Albert Einstein.
Wow.
I just kind of laughed because this guy was like 30 years old and he could never have met him. So I was really puzzled by this. And I said to Albert, I don't understand this at all. Why are you here for him? I mean, you don't know him. You're not related. he said, well, this young man asked me to come to his session and answer some questions for him, and I'd be very happy to do so. So I looked at this guy and I said, is that right? You seriously, you asked him to come? And he said, yeah, I did.
Oh,
So
that's
that,
incredible.
well, that wasn't actually the first meeting with him. I had a meeting without realizing it about, I don't know how many years before, maybe 7 years earlier, 6, 7 years before that. And I was in England and living there at the time, and I went to see this medium that had been arranged for me by someone I knew who just decided that I should go see this medium, so I did. And the medium's jabbering away to all these people, and he says, oh, there's a man called Bert here that wants to say hello to you. He's an older man, and he said you were friends and you used to know one another. And he's just come here to have a chat with you. And I said, oh. And I was racking my brain trying to think who this Albert could be. And I honestly didn't know.
Bert.
So, yeah, Bert. He called him Bert. And I didn't know who it was. So I just bullshitted like a lot of people do with us, I'm sure. they just say, you know.
Oh yeah. Must be somebody I knew long ago.
They do that sometimes. So I did it with him, and I said, well, I might be this old guy in a factory I used to know. And I said, what does he want? He said, well, he's got something for you. I said, what's that? He said, it's a pipe, and he wants you to have it. Well, the day before, I'd been a couple of 100 miles away, bored out of my mind, looking around this antique shops, and the only thing I looked at was this pipe, this carved pipe. And so anyway, I ended up going back there and buying it. I never was intending to buy it at all. The woman even kept it aside for me. I told her I wouldn't. I'll not be back here. It's too expensive. But I decided I'd go and get it because I guess Albert wanted. Yeah, well, I know he's Albert now, but I didn't know who he was at the time. And I realized many years later that it was Albert because he was a pipe smoker. He collected pipes. And when I looked at the pipe, after I bought it, I realized that it was made in Paris. And I think that's where I knew Albert, in Paris, in my former life.
So there was not only a connection to the other person that asked to talk to him, but you actually had a connection as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we did the book with Laura, what happened was Laura had been a client of ours, and I'd forgotten who she was because it had been a couple of years since we'd seen her. She came in, sat down, and I, for some reason, started talking about Albert Einstein. And she stared at me and she said, I can't believe you're saying this. I said, why? She said, well, I was hoping that if you mentioned Albert Einstein, maybe we could do something together. And I said, wow. And she said she had an autistic son. And I said, well, let's see what we can find out about it. Maybe, I don't know anything about it. Let's see what they'll have to say. And I did tell her that they may cover other subjects. It might not all be about autism because I don't, I'm not in control of what they say. So a lot of it was about autism. And, you read the book, I guess.
Yes.
So you'll see that they did discuss a lot of other things. I mean, they talked about Fukushima. They told us about that 3 months before it happened. And there's a few more details in there that are not included in the book. There was the thing with Osama bin Laden that happened while we were doing the book. Because that never got included in the book, I think, our session with the detective, with the FBI agent, to do with Osama bin Laden, because, but what was included in the book was a session we were doing with Laura where JFK and his brother, Bobby, showed up, FDR, who was one of the people that communicated in the book, and Martin Luther King. And they said to me, I said, wow, what are you guys doing here? And they said, well, there's going to be an assassination Hold on. Just shut the door.
It was an assassination to do with the president.
To do with the president, they said. They didn't say he was going to be assassinated. They said there's going to be an assassination to do with the president. And Obama was the president at the time. So a few days later, I got hold of this FBI agent and asked him if I could do a session with him to get more details on this, because I was certain something big was going to go down. And during the session, Marty and I both got a lot about a building with a wall around it. I knew it was something to do with Pakistan. I told him there'll be more than one assassin, but a single shooter. A lot of stuff I can't even remember. I'll have to listen to the tape again. I was trying to find it the other day. And anyway, the FBI agent listened to it all, and he knows a friend in the Secret Service.
And we said it was going to happen that Sunday.
Yeah, and I said it will happen this Sunday coming, and it was like Tuesday or Wednesday when we did it. And it will happen on Sunday about 3 o'clock. And he said, "You sure?" And I said, "Yeah, that's when this is going to go down." So he told his friend in the Secret Service, who told the other Secret Service agents apparently protecting the president. And the following Sunday at 3:05, 3:10, somewhere Eastern time, they assassinated Osama bin Laden. And you see Obama, Osama. It's one letter different.
Yeah.
And who would have, in their wildest imaginings, would have imagined Osama killing Obama, Obama killing Osama, right?
Right.
But I'll tell you one thing. You want to turn it off for me? Yeah, sorry, I put the kettle on. I don't believe they killed Osama bin Laden. I think they killed his double. That's what I got.
Glad I didn't have to say it.
What do you mean?
I have a lot of doubts about that story as well.
Yeah, I don't think they...
Official narrative, as it were, what they would call.
Yeah, I don't think they killed Osama bin Laden. They killed his body double.
Yeah,
And
because normally they would, even if they killed him, they wouldn't like, quick, let's bury him at sea. They would like, let's bring him back for all to see.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, they never killed him. He was removed from there. They were supposed to kill him, but he was removed at the last minute, and they had the body double in there. So I just know that that's from, my connection to the spirit world, that I'm certain about that.
Well, Michael, when did you first realize that you had this gift? At what age?
Well, I would have had to be...
we never call it a gift because that's an ability.
Okay, yeah, you're right, because sometimes I consider what I do, a pain in the butt. So, yeah, you're right. I should say your talent, or yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's an ability, yeah.
Yes, ability, talent.
Well, I think I was probably around 18, 19 when I began to realize I was psychic. I used to do healing, and I would hear people talk to me and tell me things that were wrong with the people I was working on. But I didn't know at the time who they were. They weren't connected to me. They were like doctors and nuns and, people like that in the spirit world who just wanted to help with the healing, you see. But they would say things to me that I would, they would say, "Oh, this is what's wrong with the person," and they would have told me something different, and then afterward they'd say, "Oh, you're right,"
So with COVID still hanging around, and in some places it's pretty prevalent again, are you doing any of the Paracons?
No, we haven't done any major groups since February of 2020.
Wow.
Well, we're in California, and they've got this whole ridiculous crap going on, with
wearing masks and all.
and we couldn't have.
And now it's just going to get worse. What with the failed recall?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and well, anyway, we're hoping to do a big event shortly in Bellflower. So we're just waiting for confirmation on that, but hopefully it'll be really cool.
Yeah, because it's actually at a comedy store.
The comedy club.
Wow.
Well, if you can't laugh about things, what can you do?
Well, I'm trying to be a comedian.
He's always saying,
A comedian.
I like that. Oh, that was cool. I have to write that down.
Yeah, so, like I say, there's lots of things included in the book. And, of course, I just told you about that because it's not in the book. But we're thinking of redoing the book, Laura and I, and including some more stuff in it. Just to kind of update it, actually.
Michael, I've got a question from someone in our chat room, and she would like to know whether or not you have ever gotten any visions on how this pandemic is going to play itself out.
Well,
for one thing, we think it's been overblown. A lot of the deaths and even just the people that have been positive are not really from COVID. It's a very small percentage that people have actually died from COVID.
I have talked to several people, 4 people so far in the last month and a half that have died from the vaccine.
Yeah.
So I expect to be talking to a lot of people that are going to be dying from the vaccine. That's what I'm kind of expecting, because,
it's mostly political, is what it is.
That's the thing. Is what gets me is the official narrative being, if anyone questions the jab, as they call it, they're like, oh, you're denying that the virus exists. We're like, no, we know the virus exists. It's just not as bad as everyone wants it to be made out as. I've had friends who have passed from it, but that's they were either elderly or they had comorbidity.
And I happen to know a 41-year-old, really good shape guy who died of COVID very quickly. So, I'm gonna bow out of this conversation.
The thing is that they don't give you the right therapies. You go in the hospital and they almost immediately want to put you on a respirator, which will actually be the cause of your death. And they withheld so many of the things that have been shown to help, like ivermectin,
hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah,
those things work, and other things, and they're not treating people properly. So,
and they've been available for decades, but the moment they're like, oh wait, that can actually help people, we have to suppress it.
Michael's brother had it very bad for like 4 days, and he didn't call anybody until his other brother called him, and he was very sick, and so his other brother brought him some ivermectin.
2 ivermectin pills, and the next day he was fine.
And now he is a smoker for years and years, and a heavy drinker. And he also had blood clot problems. So, and he's fine now.
Yeah.
I've been taking specific supplements that friends of mine in their 40s and 50s have also been taking, and they caught it. They had it for a few days of annoyance, and they're perfectly fine.
You see, having written the book, I'll just say this, right? Prior to writing the book, I didn't have an opinion on what they call vaccines or jabs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff they told me when I was talking to them was a little shocking to me. It wasn't the kind of stuff I thought I'd ever put in a book, like our first book. You know what I mean? So I was kind of thinking, oh my God, wow, the stuff they're coming out with, it's like, wow, pretty shocking stuff. So after that, we started to look into it and dig deep into the whole industry. And boy, is it a rabbit hole of corruption, I tell you. So, people, they're way too trusting of these organizations, these so-called medical companies. Yeah, they're really, what they are chemical companies who are just making hundreds of, nearly trillions out of just chemicals, basically. When they destroyed, or they tried to destroy, the majority of holistic doctors. Many holistic doctors have died mysteriously, been suicided.
Shot twice in the head by suicide.
Yeah, I've talked to one well-known one, and he was definitely murdered, he told me. And so the whole of his family and other people think he was murdered. So he's come through and talked to me. And interestingly enough, he was connected to the Italian brain specialist that died not long ago, actually, who was working on oh God, what's the stuff? He got this product from her that was helping autistic kids, and then they raided his establishment, and they did all kinds of stuff to him to try and destroy his life. These pharmaceutical industries are like the mafia. I'm telling you, they.
And people are always, it's in a peer-reviewed study and everything.
They pay for these studies.
Yeah, exactly.
They buy scientists. They if they want to do research, if you don't write what we want, you won't get any money. So a lot of them are just corrupt people who just want to do their own, what they call science, but really they're not very ethical people. And they'll write anything and say anything. So there's a lot of corruption, a massive amount of corruption.
Yeah. Well, kind of shifting a little bit of gears, and you were talking about mobsters. Have either one of you come in any kind of contact with some of the more famous mobsters of history, like Al Capone or Machine Gun Kelly, or anybody like that?
What do you mean?
I can't think of his name.
Which one?
The
gay one?
No.
Which one?
Well, that one, but not. No,
We're talking about a couple of different mobsters here. I have brought through mobsters. Some of them were a bit more well known than I realised, but none of the ones you've mentioned. Got to remember there's reincarnation, and maybe they're down on the lower astral realms, so some of them might not be anywhere nice.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that, some people are really curious to know about the mysteries of some of these mobsters, such as who exactly and why did Bugsy Siegel get murdered, and people like that. And, with, various different mediums being able to channel, I was just curious as to whether or not anyone had ever asked you to, contact anybody like that.
No, I've
or
not.
Even somebody like, the guy at, I've got a brain fart here. I can't even think of his name. The guy that was involved with the Teamsters and everything that suddenly disappeared.
Yeah.
Especially I can't think of his name either.
Yeah, Jimmy Hoffa.
Yes,
Yeah.
I drew him years
Yeah,
ago.
Marty drew him.
Really?
Yeah, we had a lady and a mother and daughter who'd come to see us a number of times, and the older lady, the mother, her husband was in the spirit world, so I used to talk to him usually, and but I never knew like what he did or anything like that. So on this one occasion, Marty drew. Well, she drew a couple of people for her. One of them was the New York Yankees manager, Billy Martin. And on that occasion, she said, "Oh, that's Billy Martin." And my husband was, in the New York Yankees. And I said, "Really? Wow." So I asked her husband, who's deceased, what were you? And he said, "Oh, I was the umpire." Yes, he was, she said. He was the umpire. And they were best friends with Billy Martin. And then I think it was on that occasion or the next occasion, Marty drew Billy Hoffa. And she recognized him straight away. She said, "Oh, that's Billy Hoffa." And, Jimmy Hoffa, I mean. And the reason she knew about that was because her husband used to be in the mob, and when he was a young man, and he was going to go to prison. So they gave him a deal. You either join the Navy or something and clean up, or so he did. He cleaned himself up, but he always stayed friends with the mobsters that he knew, and he had known Jimmy Hoffa pretty well, and he knew what had happened to him. So I asked her. I said, "Well, do you know then?" And she said, "Yeah. They told my husband told me that they murdered him. They put him in the trunk of a car, and they put the car in a car crusher."
Ooh.
Well, he was dead. I mean,
Well, yeah, but I mean, oh.
Now this is interesting because they did put him in the trunk of a particular car, but then there are some people saying they took him out and they incinerated his body, right? So I'm not sure whether her husband knew the whole story or just part of it, you know what I mean? But that was the story we were told, that just like in the James Bond movie, he was put in the trunk of a car and they put the car in the car crusher, and that's how they got rid of him.
Well, I guess I don't know which is worse, being crushed or in a cement pylon under some building. Yeah, I mean, either way you look at it, it's kind of a nasty way to go.
Yeah, he was dead before they put him in a car.
Yeah, but still. I mean, do either one of you agree with the theory that if a person dies very traumatically, especially, someone like Jimmy Hoffa or, those that were killed at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre or anything like that, that their spirits have a tendency to become a little more trapped than normal?
No, I wouldn't say there's a rule to that. I think it's all
a personal thing.
It's all individual. It just really depends. If we communicate with them like we do, like with Jimmy Hoffa or some other mobsters I've talked to, and they seem fine to me. They're not stuck or anything like that. If an individual's stuck, like Dorothea Puente or Richard Ramirez, now they're not going anywhere. Them two, they're stuck. I don't get much communication with them. I can hear a few things from them, but there's not like a full-on communication with them. They keep their distance from me.
It's sort of talking with an insane person. If you have a conversation.
If you're talking with somebody who's stuck, it's a bit like talking to a crazy person, because it's like talking to an alcoholic that doesn't think they're an alcoholic. You can't convince them they're an alcoholic, or somebody that's just nuts, that should be in a mental institution getting help. The conversation is just crazy, because they're not truthful, and
Okay.
they could lie to you, and they could lie to you to cover up the truth about themselves for whatever reason. So someone that's earthbound or stuck, like I say, it's a bit like talking to a crazy person sometimes, because you can't get you can't get anywhere with them. You don't know whether what they're telling you is the truth or not.
Yeah. Well, there's in the paranormal field, there's supposed to be a difference between the different kinds of hauntings. You've got intelligent hauntings, and you've got residual hauntings. Do you think that there's any distinction between the two?
Well,
Is there actually a difference between the two?
Well, there is. Okay, I don't know what people know. There is an astral body. You have an astral body. That's the body you're in when you after death. You're in your astral body. But a lot of people don't realize that the astral body itself can die. And so what you have sometimes, when something repeats over and over and over, like, well, this lady, she glides across there and she disappears through the door, and they never talk or anything. They just keep seeing this image. Everybody that goes in the house sees the same thing. And there's no communication really, or maybe just the same word is heard, or words over every time. That's like a repeat, something on a repeat. Well, that could be the astral body. That it's kind of like it's got residual energy in it, and it's slowly, like a battery going down and down and down, and it may take, could take couple of 100 years for it to wind down, so it just kind of dissipates completely. So the astral body is kind of like a physical body. It's slowly dying. You see, and so it's just going through the motions over and over and over, because it's got some energy in it, but it's not. There's no one in it.
So that's what they would call residual.
That's what you would call residual.
So that's not an intelligence.
There's no intelligence there. There's no one in it. There's no soul in it. It's like a dead body, but still got a bit of life in it, a bit of energy in it. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So remembering that you are fellow Whovians, it's sort of like the ghosting aspect of the spacesuits in Silence of the Library, where the little side thing is blinking down.
The what?
Do you remember Silence in the Library with the Vashta Nerada, the creatures in the shadows?
Do you remember the creatures?
No, I can't remember that.
Okay, because they had these spacesuits and they had communicators, and it held part of your consciousness essentially. And if you died, it would literally run down, and you would hear the person still speaking until they.
Ew, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the astral body is a bit like, it's just a recording. It's got recorded. It's a bit like, how can I put this? It has some residual memory, but it's not connected to the soul. The soul's moved on. You understand? So it's not connected to the soul, the person anymore. The person's gone. So it's like a robot. It just.
Huh. It's like a shadow of you.
Yeah.
Instead of you're separated.
Yeah. Well, your body is a shadow of you. Your astral body is the next shadow of you. You have an etheric body. You have different layers to you. It now depends what layer you're in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What layer you're aware of. The higher up the souls are in consciousness, the more they're aware of their higher bodies, their mental body, their etheric body. causal body. Their finer bodies. That's where they reside, in their higher bodies. The astral is kind of a low vibration body, really. The astral planes will disappear around this earth at some point because they don't have astral planes around the other planets. They're much too high vibration for an astral plane. We only have astral planes around the earth.
So can they contact a regular human? I mean, are they out of touch to where they can't communicate?
You mean who? The people on the higher realms, you mean?
Yeah, way up there.
No, they can communicate if they want, if they desire to. Yeah, it's a bit like it's like saying, you know, if you have a driver that just drives a Model T Ford, right? That's all they can drive. But some people can drive any vehicle in the world, right?
Yep.
It doesn't mean that they're in the vehicle all the time, but if they want to, they can drive it, no matter what it is. So it's a bit like that. They can reach down and
It's
connect.
hard for really high people, though, to connect with somebody down here that isn't.
Yeah,
at
because
least,
their frequency won't be high enough.
yeah, it
for
would
them
burn
to-
them out.
Yeah, yeah. You see, the masters on the higher realms, their energy is so powerful and so high in nature that if especially like an interplanetary being, you'd have to be a master or an adept to channel one of them, because the energy would just burn you up. It's as simple as that. So what they do is they step down their energy through various people. So like one on the highest level will connect with someone on a couple of levels below and say, go there and meet this person and do this, and they'll bit like the boss saying, hey, go down to the 4th floor and ask John to go down to the 1st floor and tell Lynn to call Joe. You know, it's a bit like that. So it's removed. You're still getting the message from the highest person, but you're not actually talking to the highest person. You're getting it relayed to you.
So these that are real high up, they can travel wherever they want to in space.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't have to breathe or anything like that.
No, I mean, no. They live on cosmic energy. You know, there are people, you've seen these yogis, and they're underground for a month. They're buried alive, basically, and then they bring them back out, and they're fine. So they can there are what they call breatharians. There are people that can live on pure prana. There's a few famous saints that when they examine them, they have no intestines. They're shriveled up. They don't eat food and they don't drink anything. They live on pure energy. So it's possible for a human being to live on pure energy, because basically that's what you're doing when you're eating food, is you're drawing out what they call prana, life force, out of the food you're eating. And you take it in through your tongue and your teeth, and that goes into your nervous system. The food itself is just, chemicals and whatnot for the body to keep building itself. But basically, you're living on prana, energy. And when you go to sleep, you're recharging your pranic body, your energy body, with life force. That's why you go to sleep. You need to, and that's why you leave your body in your astral body, because it's like a condenser for energy. So every time you go to sleep, your astral body leaves your physical body a tiny bit, or may go out 1,000 miles, just depends on what you're doing. And in that separation, it condenses energy, and then you wake up refreshed, or if you're not refreshed, it's because you've been too busy zomping around on the astral plane, probably.
That really brings to mind, as soon as you were talking about that, Michael, the what came to mind, and I'm sure Jeff is going to understand what I'm talking about, is the film with Eddie Murphy, The Golden Child.
Yeah, that's a great movie, that.
The little, golden child, the little boy.
Yeah.
He was stuck in a cage, but yet all he did was bring out a little sprig and chew on a small leaf.
Right.
Every now and then. He didn't really need a whole lot of food because they kept trying to feed him, but he wouldn't eat it. But he kept just chewing on this one tiny little leaf, but yet he still had these, this energy. He was still able to tap what the earth had for him. That came to mind as soon as you were talking about that.
That's a really great movie because there's a lot of interesting things in that movie that are so true to life, and that's one of them. The other one was the master that, he picks his nose and he cusses and he turns out to be this very advanced,
wonderful person. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the master that I knew could do all of those things. He could levitate. He could pick you up and like you were nothing, like you're weightless, at arm's length. He could pick you up and just hold you in midair with no strain at all. Like it would take an extremely powerful man to do that to someone. He could be at two places at once. He could be sitting with us, but also visiting someone else at the same time. He could do so many just extraordinary things. And masters can do that because they're not limited by time and space.
Or physicality.
They're way beyond that. There's a very famous jiu-jitsu master. He disarmed a man at a distance once. He was on his way back from the war with China in the late 30s, I think it was, into Japan. And a guy was about to shoot him, and he was 30 feet away from him, and he disarmed him. And when they asked him how he did it, he said a lot happens in the second it takes a man to decide to pull the trigger and to pull the trigger. And I knew a martial arts, fourth dan martial arts world champion who could do exactly that. Because I said to him one day, what would you do if I had a gun, Ian, and you were 30, 40 feet away? What would you do? He said, well, I'd either take it off you or get away. And a few days later, he demonstrated that only once to a girlfriend of his that I was friends with for years, and he paralyzed her.
Just with noise?
Just with sound. He said, I won't lift a finger, he said, because she was nagging on. Well, Ian, he asked you that question. What would you do? What would you do? How would you do? And he relented and he said, all right, I'll show you. I've never shown anyone this. He said, but I'll show you. They were in a park. And he said, you can do whatever you want. You can just attack me. And I won't lift a finger. He said, you can just attack me. And he was a pretty cocky guy because, he was a pretty amazing guy. Nobody could touch him, basically, And so she said I was going to kick him between the legs, and she went for him, and he did this shout, "Ki!" And she said I couldn't move a muscle. I was just totally paralyzed, and everything around me lit up and started to glow. All the grass was glowing, and the trees were glowing, and like sparkly colours. And I just couldn't move, she said, and he just grinned and walked around me several times, grinning. So, he's an adept, that guy. Totally could see energy, was very psychic, could leave his body at will, could there was nobody that could touch him. He once went to fisticuffs with what's that American guy, Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, yeah.
Yeah, he was going to face off with Chuck Norris, and they were going to go at it because he didn't like Chuck Norris.
Oh, that was a death wish.
No, Ian would have kicked his ass. Are you kidding? Ian was world champion twice. So, yeah, but they didn't fight. So there you go.
Well,
Essentially, he was a Jedi Master with the complete ability to access the Force.
Well, that was my friend Ian, but he was a student of the man that I'm talking about, my master, who could levitate and do all those kind of things.
Yeah, the funny thing is you bring up Star Wars, too, because that's a good example of that powers like that are not limited to people with the right intention. You know?
Yeah.
The most evil people can have just as strong powers.
Yeah. That's why you have to be respectful of your opponent. Even if they're your enemy, if you don't respect them, you'll end up dead.
Yeah. Well, like within the paranormal field, you have your opponents within the paranormal field. You go into a location, and people tell you ahead of time. Especially a well-known location. Oh, well, this is here and this person's there. And you go in there with this thought that you're going to contact this particular spirit. And if this person has a reputation that when they were alive, they weren't a very nice person. Maybe they were very cruel. Maybe they were sadistic. Maybe they had murdered, and that after they pass away, they're pretty much the same way. And it really gets me that people go into these locations knowing the reputations of the people when they were alive. They go in there thinking and taunting them. And, I've always been of the opinion that if you're a jerk in life, you're a jerk in death, too. There's just no doubt about it. Your personality does not change just because your body's gone.
Of course, but some people do get help on the other side. Michael's brought through a Nazi.
An SS officer. You can move on. You see, it just depends. Yeah. It depends who it is, and
he was trying to make reparations.
For all the kids he'd killed.
Yeah, if you're going to feel that way even in life, you'll probably feel that way when you've passed on. That's the way your spirit is. But if you have that within you to begin with, if that darkness is still within you when you're alive, I really don't think that it changes that much after you pass away. And so it just really makes me angry to hear people go into these locations where these spirits are supposed to be, and they taunt them. And they do everything they can to get them to do something nasty. And when something happens to them, they get pushed, they get scratched, or whatever, then they're amazed. And I'm sitting back thinking, well, duh, you asked for it.
See, I go into these places, and Michael will tell you I'm never afraid of anything.
No, I'm afraid of the living.
Yeah, I'm afraid of the living.
Well, exactly. We don't do that kind of thing, like you've just been saying. Marty and I, if we go somewhere, I don't want to know anything about the place. I just want to.
We have no idea.
Have our own experience.
We usually don't even know where we're at. I think if you've seen any of the shows that we've been on, they blindfold us and take us, and we don't even know what kind of place we're at.
Yeah, I think that's best.
It is the best. It's the best way to get the best, untainted evidence, I think.
Yeah. You go in without a preconceived idea as to what's supposed to be there. And so that's when you get your impressions. And sometimes, I've noticed that, different locations, you go in there, and if you go in there with a little more respect, they're more likely to talk to you. Do you find that that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, we don't do an awful lot of this ghost hunting stuff. We're just busy working mediums and have been way before we did any of the shows. So we're just day to day, helping clients, speaking to whoever. And if we do any of this ghost hunting stuff, it's just for a bit of fun, really.
Yeah, we do have fun with them.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, the stuff that happens to them. But I mean, it's just a bit of fun for us because
and it's just more evidence for people to get out of their mindset. So
yeah,
that's why we do it.
Well, you had indicated the person you brought through trying to make reparations. We once had a author named Roberta Grimes who had written a book called The Fun of Dying, and she indicated that some people, when one passes, it's very much a plane of existence of love and forgiveness. And this one Nazi had literally locked himself in a trunk, and all he could do was scream in his own searing agony. He created his own little hell for what he had done, and all of his souls are outside the box saying, it's okay now, you're okay, and he won't hear it. He wants to, that's how he wants to make his own reparations, is to not flagellate, but, self-punish himself.
Wow.
well, there are Christians that do that, There are Christians that cross over and they have this very narrow understanding of things. And so they hang out with all the rest of them that think the same way. And it's not just Christians, it'd be like Muslims or Buddhists or whatever. So when people die, they're really limited by their mind. Your mind really is a prison. So when you die, there's no can opener there to open you up. I mean, you are what you are. You are welcomed and met by people that love you, and if you're a good person, if you're not, you end up in the lower realms with all the rest of your little buddies.
If you have a mindset that you're not going to see anybody, then you won't be able to see these people that are there trying to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's been a long time since I've told this somewhat shaggy dog story, but let me just do a quick that a neo-pagan passes away and he shows up in this green field, and this person walks up and saying, "Hey, how do you do? Welcome to the afterlife." And he says, "Oh, that's great." He says, "Well," "What are you? What's your name?" And the being says, "Well, I'm Satan." He goes, "Wait, what?" He says, "Yeah, I'm Satan." He says, "But I'm a neo-pagan. You're not in my pantheon." He says, That's okay. Don't worry about that. But if you just want to go around, you got the Alexandrians over there, you got the Gardnerians over there. Obviously, that's clothing optional." And he goes on, and he describes all this wonderful place the afterlife is, and all of a sudden this crack opens in the sky, and these screaming souls fall through, and a crack opens in the ground, and they fall through, and it closes up, and the poor guy goes, "What was that?" He goes, "Oh, those are just the Christians. They wouldn't have it any other way."
Oh, no, Jeff. Oh, my God.
That's bad. Sorry, I have a very dark sense of humor.
That's pretty funny.
So do I.
Oh, my God.
All right.
There's a lot of you can't put everyone into a box. So there's Christians with a very set mindset, There's nothing else but this particular way of thinking. And then you have others that are more open-minded. I mean, we have a lot of people that are Christians that come see us. we've had born-again Christians, Baptists.
We had a Methodist
minister came to see us and told us not to tell her congregation she'd come to see us. So, but I think that people that are not open-minded are kind of in for a bit of a rude awakening when they get over there, because it's really nothing like they think it is. One of the clients we had once, there was this man come to see us, and I think after like the fourth guy that came through to talk to him, I had this guy Charlie talking to him. I said, "Oh, well, Charlie's here. He wants to say hello to you." He says to thank you for bringing the lady to see him over. I guess she was a minister or something. And he was just thanking him a lot for being there. And all of them did, actually. So I said to him, "That's pretty cool. You go see all these people, like when they're dying." I said, "That's pretty neat." He said, "Well, I'm a minister." So I laughed.
He was a chaplain.
Oh, he's a chaplain. That's right.
Wow.
He said, "I'm a chaplain." I said, "Oh, that's why you're there all the time. Wow, that's pretty funny."
Oh, my goodness.
So I said to him, "I've never seen anybody die. What's it like with these people?" He said, "Well, Charlie and people like him, who are not like, real Christians or anything like that, they have very easy deaths. But," he said, "all the fundamental Christians..."
Yeah, the fundamentals, that's what the word I was
The fundamental Christians that I deal with when they're dying, they have usually horrible deaths. He said they won't leave, they're afraid, they're not easy deaths, he said. But people like Charlie that you just talked to and the other couple of guys, he said they just have easy deaths. They leave easily and peacefully.
Any religion that's based on fear.
So that was from the chaplain. That's what the chaplain told me. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
I said to him,
All right, we're going to take a quick break, be about 6-7 minutes maybe. Just remember, your mic is live on your phone. If you want to mute it, you can, but don't be talking or anything like that, because I can't mute it. So everybody would hear you.
uh-oh.
All right, we're going to go take a break, and I believe, Jeff, you taking us out?
Yep, you're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with hosts Henry Foister, Ceiling Cat Barbara Duncan, Tabby Cat Gash, and myself, Jeffrey Gould, with our medium guests tonight. It just sounded weird. Michael and Marty Parry. So stay tuned for more Paranormal View after the break.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para-X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Those in the chat room and those listening from around the world, appreciate each and every one. Tonight we have with us Barbara Duncan. Maybe. Barbara. Your mic's not up. Oh, you're listening, huh? Well, good. I'm glad you're here, but for some reason or another, your sound's not up. And I don't think I turned anything down, so it should be working. All right. Anyway, we have with us Tabby Cat Gash.
How you doing, everybody?
And we have Jeffrey Gould.
Hello.
And we have our great guests. And Jeff, you want to introduce them?
Our guests are still Michael and Marty Parry. Hooray!
All right. Welcome back, guys.
Hi there.
Hi, we're back.
Okay. I know, do you do readings from home, or do you have a website?
Yeah, we both. I mean,
We don't.
Yeah, we do it from home.
All the information is on our website, but yes, they do have to call us. We do sessions by Skype or phone.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Tabby?
Marty, you have an absolutely incredible ability to be able to interpret and put down on paper, not only as sketches, portraits, but you also doodle, which I think is incredible as well. You have visions of various different things in your head during sessions. How did that come about with you? When did that start?
The portrait started years ago when we were just starting out. Michael was starting out. He was doing readings, but I couldn't hear enough. I couldn't do what he does. So he told me that he knew, because he knew I was an artist. So he told me about this person that he knew in England that was able to draw people from the other side. And he thought I could do that. So one day I finally tried it. I sat down and I drew a picture of an older man. And Michael came home and looked at the picture, and he didn't know who it was. So I just set it on the coffee table. And that night we just so happened we were having a small group over for meditation. And the first one over was a young girl, and she picked up the picture and said, "Oh my God, that's my boss that was murdered a year ago to the day."
Ooh.
And she brought over the picture the next day, and it was most definitely him. So the very first one that I did...
Well, it was a newspaper cuttings.
Yeah, he was actually a very well-known entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was a multi-millionaire. He lived a few miles away up on Palos Verdes, and he gave away about $80 million before he died. He was a very rich man. And someone had come into his work and tried to rob him and killed him.
Wow.
And he was almost like a second father to her.
Yeah, so
was...
although she worked for him, he was like like Marty said, a second father. They were very close.
So after that, I just started doing it more and more and got more and more confident in what I do. And I don't know how the doodles started. I just started, I'd finish the portrait and I'd start seeing things. So I thought, just sketched them down. And they were all meaningful. So that's how I started doing the doodles. And those are, I think those are a lot of fun because some of the things are just so off the wall.
Yeah, like boots and swings and stuff like that. But they all make sense.
Yeah, and I tell people if they don't make sense now, they will later. I had one that the whole page, she didn't understand a thing on it. I had like maybe 5 or 6 little drawings, and she called us back like a year later, and she said everything on that page came through at the same time. It was
in
like
Hawaii, wasn't it?
Yeah, she went to Hawaii. Her fiance proposed to her, and I don't know.
So it was all future things. It all happened in Hawaii.
Well,
so I tell people if you don't understand it right now, just wait.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Well, do you think, Marty, that some of the impressions that you get have maybe equal time between the spirits and perhaps the, psychic impressions that you're getting from the living? Because when I look at some of your drawings, and they look so very much like pictures that eventually, some of these people will show you, and they're very much like them.
Yeah,
I mean, they're so close that it's pathetic. So do you think that they're actually coming from the spirit world, or do you think you're getting psychic impressions from the living?
Oh, I know I'm getting it from the spirit world because there's ones
because
that they don't even know
see
who
the
they
same
are.
people, yeah.
It's also that what they like to actually pose for me like a picture, just so that it'll be evidenced easier.
Okay.
They don't always, and
See-
some are much better than others.
Like, I'll give a couple of examples so to show you that she's not getting it from the person. So I was talking to a lady's mum one time, and her aunt, her mother's sister, was also speaking to me. And the sister, the aunt, moved over to where my wife was, and I said, "Why are you moving over there?" So I'm going to have my portrait drawn. I said, "Oh." So I told the lady, Marty listens to music, so she has headphones on when she's doing this.
I don't like to be influenced by anything that Michael says because it throws me off.
So she couldn't hear me, and I told the lady, I said, "Oh, you're going to get a picture of your Aunt Mary." And when we were done, Marty put the picture down, and she said, "That's my Aunt Mary." And another time, Marty was sketching away, and she had the pad up, so I couldn't see what she was drawing. And I was talking to this guy, this grandfather called Bob, and the woman didn't seem to understand what I was saying. So out of frustration, I said to Marty, "Can I have the picture a second? I know you've nearly finished." And she got a little, she wanted to finish it. And she said, "Oh, all right then." Yeah. I said, "I'll give you it right back." I said, so I just took it off. I didn't look at it, showed it to the woman. I said, "Isn't that Bob?" "Yes," she said. I said, "Yep, that's him." And I gave it back to Marty. Well, the thing she wasn't understanding was he had her twin baby with her. And the baby had no life experience, so it couldn't talk. There was nothing to talk about, let's put it that way. So that was the issue she was having, and he showed me a baby. I said, "Oh, it's a baby. You've got a baby there with you." "It's, yeah, one of twins," he said. And that's when she started to understand everything, you see.
I could go with different examples, but there have been a lot of times that I've drawn people that they don't recognize at all
And they find out later.
until they show it to their mother. It's like, "Oh, that's your great grandmother. You didn't know her."
Yeah, that's a better example. Yeah,
or they'll find a picture. It's like they don't know who it is, but that person's in a picture with their family.
Yeah. Have you ever drawn portraits of people at a different age than what the person that's asking you to read? Because I've seen spirits like a husband and wife that were only in their 20s and they were together, but yet they died in their 70s and 80s, but yet when I saw them together, they were in their 20s when they first got married. Have you done portraits like that where
all the time.
they look at them and say, "Well, I'm not exactly sure who this is," and then, like you said, you show them to the relatives and say, "Okay, I know who this is."
Yeah, all the time they do that to me, but they usually like to pose for it, like they would remember them. I would have to say that, but I've had them come in different ages. Yeah, I had one, and I have drawn people that are living. The people on the other side will give me the impression of how to draw it. One of the most unusual ones that I drew was years ago. I drew this one for a lady. It was an old woman, and she didn't know who she was, but she said she would, keep it around and keep it in mind. And then she called me about 10 years later, and she said, "I know who that picture is now." And it was, Michael was talking to her father that had crossed, And I think her father gave me the impression, because it was her mother, who is getting old now, is looking like the picture. And when he's saying, this is what it's going to be like when you cross.
Wow.
So that was one of the most unusual ones I've ever had.
So, has COVID affected your business to where you are more busy or less busy now?
No, it's about
the same.
It's about the same. It's yeah. We don't see people in person at the moment for different reasons. So, and we're just keeping it that way for a little bit.
We just haven't been able to do the groups.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But our home business is about the same as it's ever been.
Wow.
Yeah. Is there any particular criteria that the both of you use virtually? I mean, when you can't be with someone and look at them and feel their vibrations, physically and everything, is there another criteria that you guys use that
We don't use,
when you do it virtually?
we don't do that at all.
We don't do that at all. It's got nothing to do with the person. We're mediums, so we don't. It's got nothing to do with the person, their energy, or anything. We're not mind readers. It's nothing to do with the person.
Oh, well, I didn't necessarily mean it was that. I was just referring to the fact that, especially with COVID, because you're not able to physically stand in front of someone when they're asking you questions or to help you to, or to ask you questions, that with everything going on right now, is there a difference between the energy, between the virtual and being actually standing in front of someone?
No.
Actually, we've found out that it's actually a little bit easier not to be with the client when we're doing a session, because the client, their energy gets in the way. If they're like really nervous or something,
I've had people that,
their energy can just throw a wrench in it. So it's better actually on the phone or by Skype, because you're not dealing with that energy. You're only seeing the people on the other side. It doesn't have anything to do with.
Yeah, I'm busy chatting to people who I'm looking at and talking to. It's got nothing to do with the client. They're there, and I tell them what the people are saying, and that's it. It's nothing to do with them. I know that a lot of the people that come to see us, they want particular things. They want this and they want that. And I don't care about that, actually. I really don't care why they're doing it. I am interested in what the spirit people have to say.
Okay.
It's as simple as.
Yeah, we've done sessions all around the world.
Yeah.
And it makes no difference where they are.
I've done phones that, the first time I did it over the phone was a woman in New York, and I told Marty I'm going to try it, see if I can do it over the phone, because up to that point I'd never done a phone session. That was like 20-something years ago. So I get on the phone with this woman. You can't tell by her accent what color she is or anything. She just got a New York accent. And I'm talking away, and her mother was talking to me, and her mother told me she'd been murdered. She'd been killed by this guy in this house. She described the house to me. Then at a certain point, the mother told me about where her daughter was, and she said, she's on the 6th floor right now. Yes, I am, she said. I said, now your mother is not with me now. She's remained connected telepathically, but she's now gone to where you are. And I said, she's walking me through your house, through your apartment on the 6th floor. And on the left down on the hallway is a Tiffany lamp. And then I turned into your bedroom, and you're in the bedroom, aren't you? And she said, yes. I said, there's a window open, and it opens up, and you have the curtains aside, and they're like purpley looking curtains. And she said, yes, that's right, I'm looking out the window. And you're sitting on a chair, No, there's this big purple thing in the room. I don't know what that is. She said it's a bean bag. I'm sitting on it. And then I said, to your right, there's a chair with papers on it. One chair in the room, and it's to your right. And she said, yes, your mother's sitting on that chair now with you in that room. She talks to me. And that's how I did it on the first time I did it on the phone. That's only a little bit of what I said to her. So it has nothing to do with the person. They can ask questions, but often the spirit people know exactly what's going on with people.
Yeah, they'll usually answer the questions before they're even asked. In fact, I always tell people don't ask questions in the beginning. And we don't want to know anything. We don't know, I don't care who you're here to see.
We had a woman the other night who, I guess, she's somebody that didn't want us to know who she was. She must be somewhat well known or something. So she had her someone that works for her set the appointment up for her.
I gave a false name.
Gave false name. Didn't want her address known. We couldn't even send her the pictures because she didn't want us to know the address or anything. So I didn't know who she was. So I get on Skype with her, and her son starts talking to me from the spirit world. He died. And within a few minutes, he says the name Karen. I said, oh, he's saying Karen. That's me, she said, I'm Karen. And then he just chatted away to her,
Oh, dear.
It has nothing to do with the person. It's I'm talking to the spirit people. That's it.
Exactly.
That's where all my information comes from.
Yeah.
There are people, they try and help me. They say, do you want help? Do you want me to say? And they jabber away, and it's like, oh, shut up, will you? let me do your job here, I mean, I can let you yabber away if you want for an hour and, make it easy on me if you want. I don't care. But I mean, I do care. So I tell them to be, don't say anything. Just don't, just be quiet a minute. Let me talk to them and see what they got to say.
Yeah. Well, Marty, I have a question for you from the chat room, and she would like to know that if people come to you in your dreams and want you to make a portrait of them.
I don't think I've ever had that, no.
No, never had anybody come to you in your dreams.
No.
No, I guess it's a waste of time because...
Yeah, I mean, who's what's she going to ring up Joe Blow and say, hey, I just drew a picture of your mum? It's like, thud. I just died of a heart.
Okay.
I mean...
That's one thing that we found out is the spirit world does not waste their energy.
Yeah, they don't. They don't mess around. Trust me. I have had spirits come to me in my dreams and tell me who they were and that they wanted to reach out to someone. A couple of occasions, and I've done that. One was a fireman that died in 9/11.
Oh yeah.
So
that was. Yeah. Well, we also had one appear in the living room that Michael saw. That
he just died the day a few days ago.
We knew because we saw it on the news. But then Michael says, well, I don't contact anybody. And he said, don't worry, I'll get my family to come to you.
And sure
and they
enough,
did.
A few days later, his brother rang us.
Wow.
So I was well impressed with that. I said to him, if you do that, I said, I'll be well impressed. And he said, I will, and he left. And a few days later, his brother rang. And talking about the doodles, it was really funny because when he was on the phone trying to set up an appointment, I took the phone and started talking to him.
And we didn't know who he was.
Didn't know who he was. And Marty had been doodling a football, an American football. Well, his brother was a football, like a football star. And so I said, oh, isn't that interesting? You drew a football. Wow, that's cool.
Well, Marty, some of the portraits that you have done over the years, and they've been just, so detailed. And one that I think is really cool was of Betty Hill.
Oh yeah.
How did you come about doing that?
God, I don't remember, but somebody who knew her.
There was someone that knew Betty, and the funny thing was, you know what's so weird about that? I wrote a blog about that because we were out in the state where Betty had been abducted. I'd read the story when I was like in my teens about Betty and Barney. And of course Marty drew her. So we were at this like a Paracon thing or whatever it was. And there was a lady there that had written a book, and one of the things in her book was about Betty. And so she knew the exact location where Betty had been abducted, and she told us where it was. So I said, and we were on our way up that way to go somewhere else. So I said to Marty, let's go to the spot where Betty was abducted. That'd be really cool. So we went there, and there was a gas station across from the exact spot. So we went into the gas station, and the owners had turned the restroom into a shrine to Betty.
Oh my God!
I mean, there was all kinds of all kinds of pictures in there and everything to do with the abduction and Betty. And so this is the really cool bit. So we were talking to them for a bit, and I think we gave her a copy of Marty's picture, and they said they'd put it up in there. And do you know what happened? Like about a week later, Betty's daughter, out of the blue, stopped at that gas station and went in the restroom and about had a heart attack when she saw Marty's picture.
Oh my God!
Isn't that freaking amazing? I was like, what? Wow! I said to them, that was amazing. So there was this whole train of events that led up to Marty having a picture put up in the restroom, and her daughter, after like 20 years, out of the blue, just one day walked in there. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
I'm not sure if that's an insult or what, to have your portrait in somebody's bathroom.
You should have seen that bathroom, though.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
Well done.
Yeah, it was beautifully done. Well, because she got abducted literally across the street where the telephone pole was. So it was right across the corner. So I thought it was really cool that they knew all about the story and they did that. I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, John Wayne, our friend, we got up to her place and we'd had these whole John Wayne connections all the way up. We got to her house and I said, can I use your restroom? And she said, yeah, it's around there. So I go in there and it's all John Wayne stuff in there, big portrait of him above the toilet, and she calls it John's John.
John's John, man.
Oh, that's John's John, that is, she said. There's all this, memorabilia of John Wayne in there. It's pretty funny. I said, oh, that's pretty fun.
We've had so many experiences with John Wayne. He's
a terrific guy, he is.
Wow.
Well, who is the most interesting spirit that either one of you have encountered?
Oh, my God, too many. Honestly, I couldn't. I mean, there are some kind of ordinary...
Now, I can say who's my favorite.
Who?
Okay.
Oh, George.
No.
Who?
Van Gogh.
Oh, Van Gogh. Yeah, yours. Yeah.
my favorite is Van Gogh.
That's right, Van Gogh.
Yeah. But, he has come through to help me draw at times. The first time he helped me.
She couldn't even speak.
I couldn't speak. I couldn't tell Michael.
I looked around and she's like all choked up. I said, what's the matter? She's like, what? She said, Van Gogh is helping me.
Oh, my goodness.
It was, oh, God, his energy is just so fantastic. It was just...
And she actually drew his, a man that was this lady's great uncle for her, who was friends with Van Gogh, and she used to have all of his letters between him and her great uncle and Van Gogh. So she drew him, and that's a very good portrait. And then the next time she came to see us, Marty...
We didn't recognize...
We'd
don't
forgotten
recognize.
who she was, so she sits down and Marty draws this guy.
And I didn't recognize who it was because I didn't draw a beard.
Yeah, so she didn't put the whole
The facial hair.
on him, but it was Van Gogh.
Yeah.
He did a self-portrait through Marty.
Yeah, and I did look up, and there is a self-portrait that he did without the beard.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. You know, he had that side faced to where you can't see the ear and everything, and he had no beard.
You know,
And most people usually see him with a beard.
Yeah.
yeah. You know, the thing about the ear, he never cut his ear off, you know. That was,
How in the heck did that happen? Did he tell you, Marty? Did he tell you how?
no, it's known out there. What he was having a fight, a sword fight with his friend, and his friend accidentally cut his ear off with the sword. So to protect his friend, he told everybody he did it himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? He just wanted to protect his friend because his friend would have got in serious trouble, and so that's what that was about. He never cut his ear off. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he would do that.
He did that.
Oh,
to
he
protect
also
his
didn't
friend.
kill himself.
That's right. He didn't kill himself. So, you know, there you go. He's a great guy.
well, Marty, are there any of the portraits that you've done in the entire time that you've been doing this? What are your favorites? Who are some of the ones that you find that you are really focused on, that they're your favorites?
Oh, gee, that's hard to say. One was, because it was one of my very first well-known people, was Benny Goodman. That was sort of...
Yeah, that was up on the hill near us.
And the lady, wasn't sure who it was, but...
It was kind of weird. Yeah, she didn't know who it was, and I'm talking to a guy called Benny, who's blowing on some kind of instrument, I said, and she's still scratching her head, you know. Well, her husband was in Benny Goodman's band for 10 years.
And so he said, well, where's your husband? Where's your husband right now? Well, he was in the other room.
In bed reading a book because he didn't believe in this. So she took in the picture and said, here, and who's that? And he said, well, that's Benny. And she said, yes, it is.
Oh.
So that was sort of a thrill for me. It was the first really famous person I've drawn.
Well, I hope you let him know that you like big band music.
Well, the funny thing is that my dad played in a big band when he was in his 20s. He played the trombone and trumpet.
And a violin, too.
Well, he didn't do that in the band. That was an orchestra. He played violin.
Wow.
But he actually played with... Not Benny Goodman. Who is that?
Oh, I know you mean.
Who did the Old Lang Syne?
I know you mean.
Guy Lombardo? Oh, no.
Yeah, that's it. Guy Lombardo, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he was the conductor. I don't know if he actually wrote it or not.
No, he did
But
not.
it's connected to him.
Is
Yeah,
that
it was Robert
Jeffrey
Burns.
talking?
Robert Burns wrote Old Lang Syne.
Yeah, no, he played in Guy Lombardo's band for a while.
Oh, neat.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty savvy of you to know all that.
I'm not a spring chicken.
Could have fooled me.
Although I do have, I could just go back on the fact I'm filled with useless trivia in my head.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jeff,
no,
you got
he was
some
Mr. New
incredible
Year. He was
stuff.
always. I grew up with him being Mr. New Year, pretty much.
Sure.
Wow.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, as the years have gone by, I seem to have less and less connection with the older type people, you know, like the people that were around in World War II and things like that. When I first started, I used to see a lot of them, like a lot of guys that were in World War II and just prior to that. But as the years have gone by, I've seen less and less of them.
Because they don't have that many contacts
I guess-
with people here.
Well, maybe it could be that, or some of them are reincarnating, maybe, because it's getting on for...
Well, I got to remember, a lot of
70 years
the
now.
people that we did readings for 20 years ago, we're doing readings for their family, bringing them through now.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of the people that we've talked to in the past are dead, and now they talk through me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, do you think that, as you say, over a certain amount of generations, with their loved ones eventually meeting up with them, then there's no reason for them to come back and try to communicate because the people that they want to talk to are now with them.
Yeah, well, unless I'm talking to like their grandkids, unless their grandkids come to us, or great grandkids, you know what I mean? But like, when we first started, I'd be talking to a guy that, died in the gun turret under the plane when it crashed, and the bomber pilots, and all, guys that were paratroopers, people like that, and less and less of them have come through. I just find it interesting. But they are my favourite people to talk to. They're just so interesting.
We still get a lot of Vietnam people.
Yeah, well, that's later, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I do have people from Vietnam coming through, and I've had a lot of people from the Gulf Wars come through, and the Afghan Wars. I've had guys that died there, and
Yeah, Michael always knows when there's somebody that was in Vietnam coming through. It's because my brother always shows up. My brother died in Vietnam, and he always comes through and helps.
Well, he just comes with them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He comes with them. So that's really interesting.
So have you ever been doing a talk show like this or any of them, and somebody come to you and say,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we were doing one with a lady in England maybe a year ago, and I try not to do it because it's a different mindset, and I can't think like I normally do if I start seeing them and talking to them.
Oh, you never think normally anyway.
So I'm talking, we're chatting away like we are with you, and then I just suddenly saw this guy standing there, and I said, "Oh, mate, I don't want to talk to you right now because I'm trying to do an interview." And he told me his name, and he told me that he was with his son that killed himself, and he said a couple of other things, and I said, "All right, I'll try and remember it, and I'll tell her when we're done." So when we were done, I said to her, "By the way, this guy was here by this name, and he said this and this and this," and she said, "Oh my God, that's my mum's brother, and his son committed suicide, and that's why we're doing the show, because and this whole event, it's all about suicide because of him." I said, "Well, that's who I just saw standing here."
Wow.
So yeah, I do see people now and then. Sometimes when I'm just out. I do sometimes. I was in Trader Joe's once, and this woman come up and said, "Hello," she said. And I said, "Do I know you?" She says, "Well, I've been to several of your groups." I said, "Oh, hi. Who spoke to you? Anyone?" She said, "No, nobody came through." I said, "Oh, that's a shame." I said, "Gosh." So we're going out to the car. She got in the car, and I suddenly saw someone. I said, "Oh, your son's here." And I leaned in the car window, and I talked to her for about 20 minutes, and I told her what her son was saying to her.
Oh. Wow.
So I do random stuff sometimes. We were out in, where's the place where the bell is?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, yeah. We were out on a ghost hunting thing with a bunch of friends in Philadelphia. And it was hot. We were outside walking, and it was all muggy, So I was resting on this wall that was at chest level, the park was at chest level and the street was lower, so I was standing resting on this wall for a minute, and everybody's standing around. So just have a rest for a minute. And all of a sudden, this bloke appeared in front of me, about 2 feet in front of me, and I could see his legs, and I looked up, and they all realised I was seeing someone. Said, "Who are you looking at, Mike?" I said, "I don't know yet. It's just this guy just suddenly appeared. Just wait a minute." And he looked like he was in the 1700s. He looked like he was dressed in like the 1720s. He had knickerbockers on and, pants and the shoes with the buckles and everything. So I said, blimey, it looks like he's from that era. I asked him his name, and he said, I thought he said like Joe or Jim. What was the last name? What did
Walking.
Walking.
Or Walker.
Walker, that's
Walker.
right. Walker, he said, like where you're going to walk. And we were on our way to the cemetery. I said, and I looked around and he was gone. He said, and he said, you'll stand over my grave. So I told everybody what he just said, and we got to the cemetery, and you couldn't read half the headstones. They were gone. I mean, you couldn't, there was no writing left on them. They were worn away completely. I said, blimey, I don't know how we're going to find them.
I saw this little book stand. I asked the guy, do you know how to find any of the people that are buried here? And he said, funny thing, I have a book that I wrote that has...
Well, he republished a book from 100 years ago.
Okay.
And it has all of the graves in the graveyard, like 600 of them or something. And so he said, yeah, I can find it for you. And he took us right to it, and I stood over his grave, and it was James Walker or Joe Walker, wasn't it?
The first name was a little off.
Yeah, I was a little off with the first name, but the last name was Walker, and I stood over his grave.
Right.
And the date was 1720 something.
Mm-hmm. So you had it right there.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I said, wow, that guy I don't know why he appeared to me or why that happened, but that was just so interesting.
Mm.
And in fact, if we didn't have that book, we would never have found it. But he was just about to leave, and he had this great big thick book with all of the graves in it. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Well, I have another question from the chat room. I'm kind of paraphrasing this a little bit. It's for either or of you. While trying to contact the spirit world, or when they contact you, have either one of you ever had any attachments? And if not, what do you do to protect yourself from having them?
Well,
I've had, when we went to England, we went to what was called the most haunted place.
A very haunted house.
Most haunted house in England.
From like the 1600s.
Yeah.
And they used to hang people down below.
And while we were there, I said in my mind, if, anybody wants help crossing over, let me know. You can use me. Well, somebody took me up on it. And I had this female with me all the way home, and
all the way back to America.
Yeah. It's funny because I could feel her. I could feel her like in my aura, right on my side, and I didn't know how to let her go. In fact, it was hard for me to let her go because it felt very nice. It was a very warm feeling, and so we finally found this lady that helped me let her go, and that was very hard.
Yeah,
it was like losing somebody. I didn't know her.
I think that some people like attachments. Marty and I try to be very detached when we're doing what we're doing, and we're very focused on just the spirit communicators, and we know our guides are with us, so we kind of feel protected. You see what I mean? We're very serious about helping people, and we're not too into messing around. You see what I mean? I think people that get attachments often are just messing around a bit too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, we both trust our guides explicitly, and we know that they wouldn't let anything harm us.
If you're not in a good place, like mentally or emotionally, you shouldn't be messing around in the psychic field. You should not be doing stuff in the psychic field, because that's when problems arise. Because you can easily get taken advantage of by some discarnate spirit who will not move on and just wants to mess with you. So you have to be a bit careful. And there are a lot of people that are not right in the head in the paranormal field. You know what I mean? That shouldn't be dabbling. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now, is there any suggestions or any recommendations for people that want to do not exactly what the two of you do, but close to it? Is there anything specific that you recommend that people do?
Well,
I think the biggest thing is no fear.
Yeah, you can't be afraid. You have to really get to know yourself really well, so that you are very confident and at ease with doing it, with connecting with spirit people. And the more you know about the more you understand, the better. So read as many books as you can get your hand, good books.
Not New Age books.
Yeah, not so much the New Age ones. Like, read books by mediums in the past. Read books, that book, Ghosts, by
Hans Holzer.
Hans Holzer. Fantastic book. The mediums are used in there, really good. So you can understand a lot about how mediums work. And then so you really have to kind of understand the process. And the more you understand it, the better. Because then you don't have all these stupid fears. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of people are just, they say, well, I'm a bit scared of it. And well, what, if you're scared of it, what are you messing around with it for? You shouldn't be messing around with stuff if you're afraid, because fear is the gateway, for bad things.
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the people that have died in the paranormal field because they were not in a good place. People die. You can be killed if you mess around. There are some pretty dark forces out there. You've got to be very careful. My teacher exercised Aleister Crowley's places. Okay, he dealt with some very dark people, and Aleister Crowley was very dark. And I know there's a lot of people out there that love Aleister Crowley, and they've got all his books, and they think he's just, well, I've got news for you. Aleister Crowley was a very evil man.
Well, he considered himself the beast, didn't he?
He called himself the Beast, yeah. The worst man ever lived. And people think he was just making that up. He once raped a woman at a distance in a cafe. He was sitting with his friend, and he said, "You see that woman over there? I'm going to rape her." And she went through all the motions of being raped, and she was 30 feet from him.
That's not cool.
No,
Yeah, no, it ain't
cool
cool.
at all.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The guy was a very evil man. It's as simple as that. And when he passed on, he was killed on the lower realms, so he's no more.
Wow.
You can die, like I said, on the astral plane.
Well, our show is running out very quickly. We got less than 5 minutes. So, any last questions, Jeff or Kat?
How can people get a hold of you to get a reading and have a spirit portrait done?
The best way is to go to our website. It's www.spiritportrait.com. spiritart.com. And that gives you all the information, the prices, and our different modalities. And then it gives you our phone number that you can call us and set it up.
And people call and say, "Oh, is that you? I thought this might be your manager or something."
No, it's usually me.
Got a live person.
Yeah.
How about that?
I do everything.
Wow. So is there anything you guys wanted to ask us before you go?
What got you into this business?
Really, I started getting on the ParaX Radio Network and got to be real good friends with Dave and Tommy, and they wanted me to go on an investigation right close to my house. So I had to get the information for that, and when I did, they said, "Okay, now we want you to go with us." And I says, "Who? Me? In a place that's haunted?" So that's how they that was how they got me into doing a radio show.
The way I should ask, when I was looking on your website, where I know that I'm subscribed to your monthly newsletter, but how else do other people subscribe? I'm looking on your website for that, and
Oh, it's up in the it's right upper right hand corner. It says there's a place that says subscribe to our newsletter.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Just click on that and fill out the little thing, and that's one thing I haven't been keeping up with lately is the newsletter. I've got to do that. Even if I always did it because we had different places that we were doing venues, and now it's sort of...
Yeah, for like a year and a half, we haven't gone anywhere, so it's kind of boring, really.
I think that's the way it has been with everybody. I haven't been anywhere for a long time. And
yeah, I know, Henry. I'm gonna, I'm gonna have to teach you a lesson because I haven't seen you for 2 years.
I know that's how long it's been, and COVID's trying to make a comeback. So,
isn't that how long it takes you to drive to someplace? Oh, wait.
It takes me about 6 hours, I guess, maybe. Not much longer than that.
Heck, couldn't you get out? Oh, isn't that the length of a train ride to California from you?
Oh, yeah, that's about right. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't me. That was the wife that told me that, so I went with what she said.
Blame it. Okay.
Blame it on the wife.
Yeah, I did. All right. I guess we're just about ready to go for tonight. Who we got for next week?
Next week, our special guest is Eric Altman. He is a cryptozoologist and a paranormal researcher, and we will be picking his brain about various different cryptids and all the spooky things that he has encountered.
All right. With that, I guess we're going to take off, and Marty, you and Michael can stay on for a few minutes after we're off, and we'll thank you.
Okay, well, good night, everyone that's been in the chat room.
Thanks for having us on.
It's lovely to chat with you guys.
All right. With that, this is Henry Foister.
Jeffrey Gould.
Cat Gash.
And Barbara Duncan somewhere. We will see you next week at the same time then. So, good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal View.